All right, good morning, everyone. It is 10:45 here on Thursday, November 3rd. And we're in that special time of year where we're in postseason and state tournament play. And we've also started our winter season. So today we have a wealth of information, most of it brought to you by our liaisons this week. Thank you for your continued work to our liaisons in and around an area near you. The feedback that they give us on an every other week basis is essential to assisting you and where we're at. You're going to see an agenda today that's heavy in the winter season. I would encourage you to reach out to that AD near you who was unable to attend here our lead meeting, but may be able to watch the recording again, because this will be a presentation rich in information mainly around our winter season. We can move forward through that agenda. I will not read it to you, but again, you're going to notice most of that information centered around our winter season and allowing you to make sure that you're keeping your teams along with your student athletes eligible. So at this time, I'm going to have Lisa go ahead and talk to us about the winter season and things that we heard again from our liaisons. Lisa?
Thanks, Bob, and good morning, everyone. As we join winter season, we are definitely hearing lots of feedback from all of you, and make sure that you are getting those competitive co-op agreements in prior to the start of that season timeline. Working with Amanda on those would be really important if you have something you need to pursue there. As well as our venues change with winter, we do partner differently in winter with some venues. So make sure you're working with your coaches on those medical emergency action plans, as well as working with those entities you partner with in venue action plans for emergencies that may arise. Again, we heard great feedback this fall that communication is high as far as communicating with opponents and other schools. And that is the key to working together to work on the flexibility needed. We're hearing busing is again a challenge and needing to be flexible with officials and the shortage thereof. And then just communicating those participation numbers and making sure that you are aware of the levels your opponents are able to play and the levels you are able to send. And so those are some big pieces that we are hearing the flexibility needed around and that good communication with other schools. I am going to send it to Charlie to share some more winter contest management communication with you guys. Thanks.
Morning, everybody. Thanks, Lisa. Excuse me. As we met with our liaisons this week, it was apparent that ADs continue to look at contest management through a critical lens. It remains a priority. It remains a concern for ADs as we head into the winter season. We are hearing that you're looking for and desire consistency in the expectations, particularly around leading and managing student behavior. To assist in this area, look for an invitation to a virtual statewide conversation where ADs can discuss the best practices around behavior expectations and other event management aspects. Some conferences are already doing great work in these areas, and we're looking to facilitate a statewide virtual conversation. And we'll look at other management aspects, ticketing and access, supervision and staffing, for example. And with that, I'll turn it back to Bob.
Good, thank you, Charlie. I think you'll hear multiple times throughout today's presentation, cooperative agreements, levels of play, and that communication. And again, I think one of the things that we continue to hear is having time together with ADs to talk about best practices on contest management will be valued. And as Charlie mentioned, there will be a statewide conversation with that opportunity. Consistency around levels of competition. Again, we discussed this a bit at area meetings. We'll continue to have conversations around this to make sure that there is a clear level of understanding. Again, that as I said at area meetings, C squads are not identified in the handbook as a level of play. Ninth grade is not governed by the Minnesota State High School Act this time. So please know the difference between what is a ninth grade team and a potential C squad team that is playing only ninth grade, or potentially playing MSHSL governed teams. Understand if you are a MSHSL governed team that you are not able to compete against non-MSHSL teams unless they are governed by another state association. All right, any team with that 10th grade or above is an MSHSL governed team. Note that 500 series, that is for our governed team. If you have a C squad that is identified utilizing 10th, 11th, or 12th graders, they are a governed team. That team that is strictly 7th, 8th, and 9th is not a governed team at the MSHSL level. And understand that if that individual were to move up to a 10th grade or above team, that they should really stay there, right? It is much easier to manage their eligibility, number of games, daily limits. If they're going back and forth, all of a sudden you're going to potentially have bylaw violations that could occur. Again, remember, there should be no K through 6th graders in any capacity participating in practices and or competitions governed at the Minnesota State High School League level. We can move on to the next slide here. Laura will continue with levels of competition. Again, Laura, if we could move forward to that next slide, please. All right, thank you. When we get into the competition training and contests around our governed programs, again, understand the difference between a scrimmage, a jamboree, and or alumni games. Pay close attention to the definition of alumni games. Again, alumni games can always be alumni with alumni. Our MSHSL governed teams are not able to play in an alumni game against non-MSHSL participants, and that is a catastrophic insurance portion. It also is a violation of policy. Please know who your teams are playing, where they come from, what levels that they're on, protect their eligibility. Again, we're hearing that varsity teams would like to play non-varsity level teams. If a varsity team is playing another contest, that is considered a varsity contest. All right, a varsity cannot be a JV and a varsity combined. A varsity is a varsity. Exhibitions is an NFHS term. Their rules apply only in tennis, gymnastics, and swimming. Again, the 500 series in reference to those 7th, 8th, and 9th graders, if they start on a team at a lower level, let's say a 9th grade team, and then are moved up prior to that 22nd day or that 4th Monday, they would be eligible for postseason play. If they're on that 9th grade team and moved up following that 4th Monday, that is considered a non-MSHSL team in the same sport and would be ineligible to participate in postseason play. Again, understand sport-specific bylaws in that 500 series. Great information for you there. We'll continue on to the next slide here, please. And I'm going to continue here with captain's practices and open gyms. This is language we need to continue to look at. What it says right now is there's a difference, right? Understand that difference between captain's practice and open gym. Captain's practice is spontaneous participation organized by our students, and the primary objective is for physical conditioning. Supervision is not allowed by a salaried or non-salaried school personnel, whereas open gym is open to all students for any activity. There can be no coaching of skills and or techniques, no coaching period, no required attendance or tracking of those who are attendance. Again, note that the bylaws in which they're located in to assist you in defining what is a captain's practice and an open gym. You should understand when it's occurring and what the school's role is in both of those as defined by the bylaw. On to our next slide, please. All right, switching gears into competitive section placement. Great questions coming in from you. Many of you have seen that timeline, are working within the timeline already in preparation for this series of events that will take place as soon as we find out those enrollments from the Department of Education. A couple of things to highlight here. Please note that this timeline is located under your dashboard under MSHSL resources. Also note, again, you're going to hear co-ops coming up. Co-ops, if you're going to have those in place to be recognized under the competitive section placement process, and to be placed accordingly, we're going to need that information in approved by your conference, your section, your school board by January 27th. So if you have a co-op that you're unsure of, knowing that co-op will be in place, going through the proper procedures to get it there by January 27th will assist you in competing at the right level. Said differently, if it isn't done by the 27th and your co-op occurs, let's say in May of this year, after the process is completed, there is no opportunity for appeals, right? You will just be placed by your MSHSL enrollment according to policy. All right, we can move on again to the next slide here, please. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Charlie to talk about girls wrestling. Charlie? Charlie is still muted. If you can hear us here, Charlie.
Yeah, let's try this for a third time. Thank you. Getting a few questions in the office related to new board policy in wrestling that allows for up to 4 girls only events that would not count against a team's 16 dates and 45 match limits. You can see the policy language here on the slide. You'll also find it as part of bylaw 521 in your handbook, as well as in the wrestling rules and policies document for review. The two scenarios presented here on the slide really represent the questions we're hearing about most frequently. In the first example, school A hosts a triangular or a dual or a quad for that matter team event, and a separate girls only event on another mat or in an auxiliary gym on the same day. How would you apply the policy language in this scenario? You can see in this example, it would count as one event towards the 4 allowable girls only events. It would count as one toward the team's 16 dates for the team, and all matches wrestled would count toward the 45 match season limit for the individuals. In the second example, and a different example, school B hosts an individual tournament that has both open and girls divisions within the tournament. Girls would be able to register for one division or the other, not both. And in this scenario, the event would count towards one of the 16 dates for the team, and all matches would count toward the 45 match season limit. It would not, however, count as one of the 4 allowable girls only events. What are the key takeaways here? Number one, tracking the number of dates and matches remains a priority for your wrestling coaches. Simply stated, if a student wrestles, it must count. Girls, even if they wrestle in 4 girls only events during the season, are bound by the same 16 dates and 45 matches. They're bound by those limits for the entire season. Again, Susie and I are here in the office to assist as you navigate this change to wrestling policy, and we wish you well the upcoming season. Bob, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think just a reminder that we do have changes in girls wrestling, know what those changes are, and understand the scenarios presented and what those look like due to those changes. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to bring us up to date on Together We Make a Difference. Lisa?
Thanks, Bob. And I just wanted to again, share that this has been a really important initiative with lots of really good and robust conversation and lots of student input with a large amount of data. And we did hold a synthesis workshop on Wednesday in St. Paul, where we invited a group of superintendents, a group of principals, as well as ADs and about a dozen students to synthesize this really important data. And we are still committed to hosting a statewide conference and generating that student generated code of behavior and common expectations and language to share with our member schools. So this was also shared in a board workshop yesterday, and that message is continuing to move forward. And at this time, I would just like to invite Eric in and talk a little bit more about some board workshop updates.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that update. Our board continues to meet on a monthly basis, every other month in open session, and then the other months we meet in board workshop. And obviously a number of things that are in front of the board. One of those pieces, our board last June called for the creation of a task force to take a look at the adoption of activities and programs. And that committee is working very, very hard, has been meeting about every other week. And as I shared within area meetings, the primary focus with that group was to create a clear process and pathway for new activities to be added into the Minnesota State High School League. One of the key pieces there is that we're talking about creating an emerging status scenario, and see some faces here that are on that task force, and they've been doing great work toward description as well as an application process for activities that may be coming toward the league. One of the key pieces is that any activity that wants to be sponsored by the league must be very clear in their intent to have the league not only have it be under its umbrella, but also have full governance of that particular program. Because of the work that's being done, the fact that draft language was shared yesterday with the board in a workshop to review, we fully anticipate board action at the December meeting relative to the adoption of activities process, descriptions, and application, as well as potential action that could be related to boys volleyball and where that sits at this time. They have obviously been in front of our league for quite some time, especially in front of Rep Assembly the last couple of years. So anticipate that things could be happening here in December with the board of directors. I'll transition from this into the next slide, which has a number of quick takes there. Outstanding work by our schools in applying for Form A foundation dollars. 315 is probably 25 to 30 higher than we've ever seen before in the last 5 to 10 years. So really, really glad that schools have taken the time to create their application and seek those dollars to assist our students who are socioeconomically impacted and may have barriers to participation and help them out. The second item there, if you are a school that has wrestling, part of a co-op or on your own, you've been asked to provide feedback as to the weight class choices you would like to see for the 23-24 year. This was sent out in October. It is due here at the end of the week. So please connect as ADs or administrators there with your coaches and provide one response back to the league. We believe we have over 60% of our schools responding, but we would obviously like that to be closer to 100. So take some time to do that. Summer coaching waiver. It's the first part of November, and we're talking about summer coaching waivers. And why would we do that? Well, at this time, this is now open. As you're wrapping up your fall seasons, this is a great time for those coaches that are going to be returning and working with kids in the summer to take care of that paperwork and have you sign off on that so that they are ready to go for the summer and you're not trying to chase them down in April or May. Just a note that a change was made so that one summer coaching waiver does allow a coach to be able to list multiple sports instead of having to do a separate waiver for each one of the sports. So again, noticing that having those on file with you is a priority there, but making sure those get completed is important. And finally, the board continues to take a look at other items as well. Fall activity proposals coming in from football and from soccer and from tennis and from volleyball have been submitted. The board had an early preview yesterday. They are posted on our website under proposed rule changes if you want to take a look at those. Appreciate our activity advisories who review those and then submit those on to the league for consideration. Those would be acted on in the February meeting as we continue through the year. So, Bob, I think I'm tossing it over to Laura for the checklist.
Yeah, and prior to getting to that checklist, if we could, Laura, there's a question that came in. I think it's a good question around alumni games. Alumni games are identified as potential contests during our season. If a group of current students were to gather and participate against a group of alumni outside of our season, that would not be something that we would govern, meaning it is potentially something that your students could engage in. There are many questions that would come from that around supervision. Hopefully it's not administered by the school. There shouldn't be school equipment used, so on and so forth. But that type of activity would not be deemed a alumni game outside of our season. Really good question there. And then please pay attention again to that. Together we make a difference. I do believe is part of a solution around contest management. That's a student voice initiated set of expectations. We're hoping to hear that we do believe will assist us in contest management, and also that adoption of activities keep that on your radar, as well as our board engages in continued conversations in December. Again, both of those were discussed at our workshop yesterday with our board and are for your awareness. All right, at this time, Laura, let's go ahead and proceed into our checklist, please.
Great, thanks, Bob. And the checklist you see will be in today's update, along with instructions on any that is appropriate for. As many schools who are on the quarter system are nearing the end of quarters, remember that you can order Spotlight on Scholarship certificates to honor and celebrate those students. You do have a button on your dashboard that is awards programs that'll lead you to a quick form to fill out for those. Likewise, on your dashboard, you have a button to print certificates. So for any state tournament participants that you have, make sure you know that you are able to print those certificates yourself so that you can use your paper, edit those, etc. as you move through that. A reminder that the wrestling weight class survey, if you have not yet filled that out, please do. That deadline is tomorrow. Bob alluded to this earlier, but have this on your radar and checklist also. Competitive sections, those will start to go into faster gear as we move toward the first of the year. That first task will really be that you and your football staff will work together to fill out the school information form for district football. That'll come out in December. So starting to have those conversations within your school right now would be helpful. Again, as we move into competition, always assuring that all of your participants are eligible for the activities they're in, and that your winter coaches have also completed the necessary requirements. And then just a reminder of a couple professional development opportunities. The NIAAA conference is going to be held in December. Those of you that are attending that, a number of our staff will also be there, and look forward to connecting with you both formally and informally there. And then registration is also open for the MNIAAA conference held in March in St. Cloud. And again, our staff will be part of that and look forward to meeting and working with you at that spot. I'm going to turn it back to Bob to wrap up and talk about upcoming events.
Very good. Thank you, Laura. Congratulations again to those teams that are still participating and competing in postseason play. Best of luck those that we're beginning our winter season, although it still feels like a balmy fall. We're going to finish here early here today. Thank you for those that are in attendance, and thank you for those that are listening to the recording again as we figure out how to best serve you and the information that you currently need. Have a great remainder of the week, and we'll see you in the winter. Thank you.